the Edain, which are the faithful men who reside in Numenor, become the Númenóreans. They have longer lifespan. They are greater than the average man. They're literally like 8 feet tall, so they're huge. They're much stronger. They develop this new culture. It's a blend of a lot of things from our history. It's interesting. I mean, what else would you like me to say about kind of just the formation of Numenor? I'll say this: the Edain are not the only people who reside in Numenor. There is another subcategory of humans, the Druidae. I think it's how they're pronounced. They do come over, and yeah, there's not much talked about them, but they are there as well. So it's not just the three houses of men that reside in Numenor. Do you want me to continue about Numenor, or do you want me to talk about the other kingdoms? Did I lose you, Gareth? Is he having connection issues? Well, I'll just keep rambling. So I'm bringing up back a map of the Second Age here. Numenor, of course, is where a lot of the faithful men end up. The men who stay behind kind of fall into two categories. There's what we call the middlemen, who reside all over the parts of Middle Earth. What are you doing, Gareth? Sorry. Anyways, they reside all.
My internet dropped off on me, so.
Oh, yeah, you're back? Okay, anyways, I'll just continue. So yeah, the middlemen reside all over parts of, if you're looking over here, Eriodor, Rovanian are major clusters of the middlemen. And of course, there's men that reside all the way in the east and the south. So people would know them as the Easterlings and the Southrons.
We could call them like the predecessors of the Rohirrim.
Yeah, they're the predecessors of the Northmen, and the Northmen become the Rohirrim. I mean, there's a whole. I wrote, because I write for Kings and Generals Fantasy Channel, Wizards and Warriors, so everything that has to do with the armies, the culture, and the histories of that, I wrote. So I have a whole thing on the development of the Northmen. All that, if people are interested, it's very complex. It deals with multiple different groups that emerge. So the Rohirrim, the Men of Dale, and even the Bjornings and stuff, they all kind of come from the same people. Yeah.
And then I think one of the coolest things I've just discovered about the Second Age, the fact that Numenor's first king is the brother of Elrond.
Yeah, of course.
As we mentioned, one of the gifts that the Valar bestowed upon Arundel and his sons was the sons get to choose whether they want to be with the race of men or the race of elves. And as we know, Elrond chose the elves, and his brother chose to be with the men. And he would be, the founder of the first king of Numenor, which to me makes, so that means there is a biological family relationship between Aragorn and
yes.
Arwen.
And Arwen, great. Yeah, exactly.
Very long, because I think it was Elendil who was married to the daughter of the last king of Numenor.
Yes, yeah.
So that's how and we know Aragorn descends from Elendil and Isildur. So, there's that very long lineage.
And Elrond, he ends up marrying the daughter of Galadriel. And yeah, it is like, if you look at the family trees, it gets weird. And when Aragorn and Arwen, when they come together, they actually close the ring, you could say, because it's kind of like the coming of the old lineage comes all the way back. So it's like, it was fate, I guess you could say. And speaking of Elrond, of course, we were talking about, the formation of Numenor, where all the men go. But as for Elrond and the survivors, so these are going to be exclusively of Noldor and Teleri background, because the Vanyar, who did come from the Undying Lands to face Morgoth, they just go back. They don't come to Middle-earth. It's the only time, I guess, they set foot on Middle-earth was during that battle.
Yeah, I guess for them, they were just following their lords.
Yep. So they go back, excuse me, and that leaves kind of a much smaller population of elves to reside in, if you're looking at this map right now, the area of Lindon. And it's actually kind of very similar to the First Age, where the Falathim, who are the people who kind of are the seagoing elves in Middle Earth, are all the way on the western side. Now it's Lindon that kind of takes that, and they have it's the old Master of the Great Havens there, who's the same guy who had been there during the first age, watching over that part.
I'm pretty sure there's gonna be quite a bit of animosity for a little bit, considering the sounding.
Yeah, so for those who know the first age, the Noldor were kind of cursed for coming over. They did a lot of bad things, and yeah, now all the elves are kind of forgive and forget a little bit. Everyone's kind of coming together, and there's a little bit of a migration. So if you're looking at this map, Eriador, which is just a little bit to the east of this area that's Lindon, the elves gradually come over and they start migrating. It's actually Galadriel and her husband that are the first to kind of navigate this world. And they do end up finding out that there were elves who, were all the way in the east this whole time. They didn't heed the call of the Valar. They had just come as far as what you see as Rovanion.
Would they be the Dark Elves?
No, they're not. These elves are, by the way, they undergo different names. People would know them as like the Legolas's people, like the woodland elves or the Sylvan elves and such.
The Mirkwood and such.
Mirkwood elves. So there's two large groups. There's those of Lothlorien and those of Mirkwood. They're the same type of elf. They just end up in two different kingdoms because later on the force of Dol Guldur disrupts them from ever merging. They merge at the very end of the third age. In the fourth age, they become one. But they're in the second age, there are very large populations of elves that haven't seen the light of the Undying Lands, of the tree, and all that. So they're a little weaker than the Noldor and the others and stuff, but they're still elves.
And I'm pretty sure even then they're still more powerful than Númenórean.
Yeah.
But I think that the Dark Elves still reside in the caverns where they were first.
The Dark Elves are mixed amongst some, and
all right,
but they're never a large.
I know, because I really like how Tolkien describes the Dark Elves not as evil, right? Like in many other fantasies, use the term Dark Elf. They don't practice any dark magic, evil magics. They are just the ones who never went to the light of the Valar.
Yeah, exactly. They're more relevant in the first age, because there's that famous dark elf that makes fabulous weapons and such. But in the second age, it's like they're not even talked about anymore. They're imbued within the Sylvian elves and all that. But yeah, so that covers kind of just the basics of this world. There's middlemen, there's the elves who are kind of migrating around. There's still evil men to the east and the south. They don't play that much of a large role in the second age. They're there, but it's not as large as in the third age. And of course, you want to talk about Sauron. So
I was literally just about to say, let's talk about the real mastermind, someone with an actual plan, and not an emo kid with daddy issues.
So I actually have a list in front of me of questions that Gaurav had provided, and I'm gonna accidentally answer a lot of them with this, because just talking about kind of Sauron coming back answers a bunch of your questions. But as everyone who's watching this on YouTube can see, I am using from that video game, yes, that people either loved or hated, Shadow of War, the image of Sauron's fair form, because he is a shapeshifter.
I really like Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor.
I love that game so much. Anyways.
And yeah, Celebrimbor, I'm just saying this in advance. You deserve that horrible death you suffer in the game.
He's made to be a lot more evil in the game than like he is in the actual books, but yeah.
I'm sorry.